Welcome to Dice Doodles, the show where I am a slave to my dice and do exactly as they command, at least in regards to character design. The dice tell us what to draw based on my dice doodle map, and then we draw the character in Procreate and animate it in Moho Pro animation software. Last week, the dice commanded us to draw a Zombie Fennec Fox using 3 rounded triangles, which we did, using the Procreate Drawing App on my iPad. This week, we are going to start the process of building out an animation rig in Moho Pro. The process in Moho is going to be largely the same as it was in Procreate. The difference is we are going to be separating the different body parts into their own layer groups, with the outlines, color fills, shadows, and lights all on their own layers. This will make it possible to rig and animate. We start by creating a new vector layer for the head. We're going to be using Moho Style functions. Normally, vector shapes have a line and a fill, but we are going to be doing all of our fills as separate line layers colored in like a marker. We're going to call our first style Outline 1, and it's going to be that darker yellow color for the outline of the fur areas. For the brush, I'm going to be using CK Inky. I'm going to check line boil, which will recalculate the vectors for every frame, giving it a really hand-drawn feel when we animate it. I'm setting the line width to 9 and using the color picker to grab the color from our reference photo. Again, I'm ignoring the fill menu and focusing solely on the line menu. I'm just outlining the head and going over exactly what we have in the reference image. The great thing about drawing in vectors is if you mess up, you can just adjust them afterwards, although typically I just hit undo out of habit. Today I'm drawing on my Huion Canvas 16. It's a great alternative to a Wacom Cintiq, honestly for like a quarter of the price. For drawing tablets, you're going to want to invest your money in the computer instead of the tablet. I know a lot of people who dropped $3,000 on a Cintiq and it's laggy as heck because their computer wasn't strong enough to run the software. For the color fill, I'm creating a layer underneath and just calling it fill, and I'm going to need to create a new style for this as well. For my color fills, I like to use the MC Chunky brush, hitting line boil again, and I'm going to use my color picker to grab the most neutral section of my zombie's face for the base color. I'm also making the line width way bigger than the outline. Today I have it cranked up to 31 because everyone knows that's 21 louder than 10. I am going to hide that layer for the moment so that I can draw the other features on the face. I'm giving them each their own respective layers and just doing it like I did the head base. I'm also just doing flat colors for now. I'm going to wait to do the light and shadows until I have all of the body parts drawn and stacked in the right order. Each time I change colors, I have to create a new style, but for consistency, how I'm doing it is selecting a style I've already made, either Outline 1 or my color fill, and then selecting new. And then the new style has all the same features as the old one, so I can select a new color without it affecting all the other instances of that style, because that's how the styles work in Moho. If I make a change to the line thickness or the color brush, it alters all the instances of that style that you've used up to that point. Again, I'm going through each body part and putting it on its own layer and layer groups so that I will be able to rig it effectively when the time comes. Half of the work of designing an animation rig is figuring out the layer hierarchy and which pieces have to go in front or behind of other pieces, and how to create workarounds for when that hierarchy changes, or if certain pieces are in flux and not in one specific place. Again, I'm not doing any kind of shape fills. All my color fills are just more vector lines. It's always good to work smarter, not harder, so I'm going to hold off on drawing the back arm, and when I get to that point, I'll just copy and paste the front arm and move it and resize it so that it fits. I'm going to try and remember to do the same thing for the feet, to be honest, but we'll see how smart I am when the time comes. Foreshadowing. I did not remember. Now that I've got the line art and flat colors done, I'm going to move the reference photo off to the side so that I can use it as a visual reference for the lights and shadows. The shadows are going to be really similar to how I did them in Procreate, but using the unique tools in Moho. I'm creating a new style using the MC Chunky brush. I'm going to lower the opacity of the color that we're using for the shadows, and I'm going to set the layer blending mode to multiply. Once I have the shadows where I want them, I will lower the opacity of the layer itself until it looks good, which is usually between 60 and 75%. But if you're doing this at home, it's whatever you think looks good. For some shadow layers, I'm not able to get the texturing layering effect that I want going through these steps alone. So I will create an additional shadow layer and follow these steps again. And I will usually hold the base shadow layer at a lower opacity, maybe 50 to 60. And then the secondary shadow layer, I'll make a little darker at maybe 75%. For the lighting, we will follow the same process again. I will find a lighter color to use as the accent lighting, and then I will layer it on in its own layer on top of the shadows. I will typically set the blending mode to add, screen, or color dodge, but occasionally if you find the right color, you can just leave the blending mode normal. I will also lower the opacity of the lighting layers until I think it looks right, which is usually between 30 and 60% opacity depending on the blending mode. I'm repeating this process for each layer group until I have light and shadows for the whole thing. Now that I have the light and shadows done on the arm, I can duplicate the layer group and name it B arm and move it to the bottom of the layer hierarchy. I should have done that same process on the front and back foot, but I can only be expected to be that smart and sensible once a project. The pelvis is unlikely to be seen under these legs, but I'm adding the light and shadow there anyway, just in case. If someone accidentally sees your pelvis, it's important to have proper lighting. And there we have it. We have successfully recreated the drawing in Moho and divided the parts up into layer groups to make it possible to rig and animate. Tune in next week where I will rig and animate a walk cycle for our Zombie Fennec Fox. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. I'll be posting a new Dice Doodles video every Friday with new characters as the dice commands, as well as my other animations you can see throughout the week like The Mundane Life of John Orkman and Eldritch Cuties. Have a great week and may all your rolls be crits.